In this episode of Mighty Car Mods, we're going to modify this F-150. We're going to put in some super turbo nonsense with a battery. First step, jack up your truck. I've been just dying to do that. My Australian accent's horrible and not indicative at all of my respect and appreciation for the Mighty Car Mods guys. Okay, so we could add extra engine cylinders to the vehicle, but there's not a lot of room in the engine bay. We have to do some real Mighty Car Mods wizardry to put in a V8 or a V10. So what I'm trying to figure out is initially thinking about tapping in at this gear here, because if I move this gear, this drives the wheels and it drives the pistons. But then I was showing off my Lego kit to Georgina, and I realized on the underside of the vehicle, we can tap in right here, or possibly here. The question is, how? How are we going to do this? So what I wanted to do, this video is going to be totally different than the thing I was doing before, because now we're off script. This is just me fiddling around and using the parts I have on hand. So here's the struggle. The only connectivity I have is in the holes here, or standard Lego fitment onto studs here. So I'm not going to be able to fit it like so. I really don't know how it's going to get attached. I've also got an issue with gearing, and I put all my extra gears on this one stick, which makes the ones I want in the middle real hard to get out. And of course, the gearing that I have is just whatever I happen to have on hand. It's not necessarily the right thing. What also makes things difficult is if I'm going to drive the motor, I've just blocked the 4 stud-based attachments if I'm having a gear directly coming off of this. So I can match this up, but I don't have any real way of attaching it. And what I do have, I'm going to leave this battery attached. I'm not going to have the reversing transmission option in here yet. So that's going to spin, it's 1-speed transmission. It really grinds my gears? Grinding the gears. So that does not sound good. But so that's one way it could be done. And these are for steering the wheel, which we're also going to have to worry about. Well, if I'm driving this and turning this into an RC car, how am I going to drive it? Also, how do I address the play in the steering system? I feel like I want secondary stabilizers, and of course you can't see what I'm looking at here, where it's like you've got this stabilizer bar, and it's not perfect. It's definitely got some wiggle room, and it gets the rack and pinion thing going. But it feels kind of sloppy. I wonder if there's something I can do to make it more rigid. I also don't like that my turning radius has a limitation to it, where it looks like I'm crashing apart into my suspension bit, but I'm really not. So looking at how we can modify the suspension is another thing. And looking at the Mighty Car Mods methodology, I think that might be something that would be valuable as an exercise. But the first thing that they tell you is wheels and tires makes a huge difference on the performance of your car. In this case, I don't really think I've got other Lego tires and wheels, so I'd have to go to Bricklink or eBay or wherever and think about alternate options, but that's for a different time in the discussion. I really want to power this. So if I tap in here, I can't really, let's see about sizing, because I'm going to mess with the ground clearance if I tap in there. So even if I found a way to attach the bottom of this successfully, nope, there'd need to be a gap, and it would drag the ground and it would bottom out if the suspension, well, yeah, that gear would bottom out. So this isn't super ideal. So one thing we could consider doing is I'm starting to think like, okay, how far do I want to modify this from its initial design? Because, oh, hey, bud, there's no floor pan in here. Like, there's part of me that like wants to take the roof off, but that's going to mess with the overall build's rigidity. I also like the idea of being able to lock these doors, and I have a pin that could go through there. So I have to see about that. There's so many things we could do with this thing. So my other question would be, so when we terminate over here into the differential, that's the end of the line for that. We can't really do anything to change how that works. And if we look above, there's a bar in the way. And certainly we could decouple the mechanism for what does the motor and what does the rear wheels. So then it becomes a question of, okay, well, hypothetically speaking, when the hood is down, the piston view, like, let me see if I can get this, because what I want to do, that's way too big. And I certainly don't want to pull these wheels off. Just looking for an option where I can like have this stood up. I mean, really, it's quite the thing when they say like jack up your car. Well, I kind of need this car to be jacked up. And this notch in here, I'm trying to perfectly align so that if it sits down, the gear that moves has space. Oh, come on. So it doesn't rub. Well, that's precariously perched. That's for sure. Because what I'm trying to do is figure out, okay, if I do have this going, where else? And I can hear that gear grinding on my Lego thing. That's not working. That's not a car jack. And so everything that was done was sort of tightly built, like a real engine would be designed in such a way that you could release the motor mounts and get it to come out. So I do have a little room behind the wheels here. would I be able to fit you in there? Nope, I wouldn't be able to turn to the right. So I'm just trying to figure out how in this white piece where my finger is there a way to go past this and mess with it that way? Because really this is just an investigation of okay, how do I fit this motor piece in a way that works? And I really don't like the idea of taking the engine block assembly out to do it, because that is a nice viewable set piece. And that's the thing. I'm sure I could go online and find other people who have probably tried to do this and see what they've done. But I guess that's kind of the lovely challenge of Lego is I want to do it myself. And ultimately, I'm going to turn this long stream of me staring at my Lego into a shorter cut down thing later. Here's another cool thing. You can use the motor as a generator. If I plug these lights in, there's got to be a better way for me to tap into this. And on the other side of it is stuff for the turning of the wheels. So that kind of breaks that as an option. Go check what that ding was. Okay. This is the part of the stream where I just stare at this. So I found up front there is a section where the gear I'm trying to get to interfaces with another one. And there is some space in that section of the assembly, but not anywhere near as much as we need. I really do think that it's either pull out the motor assembly or see about pulling the front grille off. And now I'm still stuck with, well, I have these two nails here. They need to come out. But this also does open up that if I do start messing with the front of the vehicle, that leaves me in a spot where maybe I can trade out these parts with something with a hole in it so I can mount up the lighting kit. Because wouldn't it be cool if it had lights instead of stickers? And it's like, even though I just built all of this, I'm having a hard time remembering, like, okay, well, how did this assembly go together? And therefore, how do we get it to come apart? And is there a trick to pulling those pins out when I don't seem to have access to the underside? Here I'm just wondering, like, can I pull my bumper off? Like, how can I modify this without destroying it? Okay, well, let's go chase after that piece. Okay, so we're going to pull off those corner bits. So pull those parts off. So I've got that coming forward. Oh, okay. Well, that's the height of convenience. So the whole front bumper and grille assembly came off together. And assuming I don't make it more difficult on myself, I should be able to get that to connect back up, should I need to. So now we've got some more room. So I definitely have a problem where the gears I have on hand aren't the great option because it's the wrong size. Because what I have, like, this is too big to set in between those two orange spots. And I don't know what else I even have. I wonder, somewhere in my kit here, I previously had a torque thingy. Yeah, that sounds real intelligent, Josh. A torque thingy, huh? Tell me all about the torque thingy. It's this. I was looking right past it. This piece, where if the torque is too much, it doesn't. It allows things to happen. Yeah, that sounds real intelligent. Let me try and demonstrate. So for this piece, I can move and have the gear go. But if I put pressure on it, it'll do that. So if it can't, it'll just not. But that's also too big. So really, I should have this in here somewhere to deal with stalling, I guess. So if I look straight on, what I'm trying to figure out is that piece. I wonder how far that goes. Like, I really wish I remembered how and when that was put in. Because if I could just drive that from where it is, that would be what I want to do. Also, still need to build something that lets it not have the rear wheels on the floor, on the ground. That's too far away. Well, I might be risking that pin that I am balancing on, but it's what I got to do. Cool. So that's going to function, because what I want to be able to do is set it where the rear wheels can spin if I'm using the motor functions and not worry. What is the longest piece that I have? Well, working together with these pieces, so what I'm trying to build here is a brace for those two pieces up there, so that when I try to connect them, it's not the right length. So what I'm trying to do is just continue to make this braced out jig thing so that feels like it should connect up. But I can't see what I'm doing. Perfect. So what I've done is I've just made it so that these don't turn. It's not great, not at all, but it's something. And it gets me what I need, which is, oof, that's no good. It's putting too much pressure on that spot and it's not supported. So that sucks. Well, let's try something different. Because if I can't have it propped up, that's going to stop me. And I don't really want to take the wheels back off, because I don't want to take off the wheel hub assembly. But what I do think is if I can get the wheel and tire off without the wheel hub, that's going to get me what I want. Perfect. That was good. So make sure nothing falls off as I'm working. So what I've done is I'm putting this through here, punching out the center cap, which allows me to put pressure to release this part with its 3 connectors without trying to pull at where I have the internal thing that drives them. So while it's not jacked up, this means that it's on its suspension subframe. So if I try to spin from here, I get movement like I want without the truck trying to fly away at me. So that's good. And I'm not seeing an intermediary way for me to mount nothing to nothing. It's like, gee, I really have to take a lot of this apart to try and engineer what I want. Because now I'm getting closer, so I can freely move this, but interfacing with this, that's the hardest thing, because this doesn't fit between these connection points. But it doesn't need to, because if I weren't being dumb, I could just use that's too long. This should do. This is maybe 4 long. I'm going to disconnect this from the motor kit. No, so I'm still stuck. And I don't think I have a smaller torque bit in my collection of stuff. And if I use a smaller gear, I don't have a great understanding of gear ratios. So if I put that it's also just going to be hanging in the wind, basically unsupported at a mid-height location. It's like wrong in every way. That's not the right way to interface. I need a different kind of gear to interface. What if I have it at a right angle and I'm doing that? Let's take this part out of it and just think about twisting this myself. So it can be done, but that is difficult. And of course, if I put that at a correct height, so like I take this piece and bridge that gap and give me a center hole to work from, it's not going to be quite right. So this is the little bit that I've made. And if I install this, it doesn't interface. It's not the right thing to line up. So that's too small. And those are too big. So what else do I have? It's a gray version of the same thing. And so now the limitation is not what can be done, it's what can be done with the parts I specifically have here and available. And that's a real unfortunate limitation. What is this? What is the deal with this block? Okay, so those are just attached weirdly. Okay, not helpful. What do I have in my other bags? So these look like a bag full of small bits I'm perusing through, but I don't think any of these have gears. Now here's one that's got some differential gears in it. I don't see those as being useful to me. Not unless I'm trying to make a 90-degree with them, which is not what I'm doing right now. And then so this bit, what do I have in here? Some nice big long blue pieces, that's nice. Big long stuff, a brick remover, some bubble bits. Where'd I put my darn motor? Now I can show the thing I was trying to do a bit ago. I was trying to do this because this might show better on camera. Nope, that just blurs together. I have to gear ratio that down. Okay. All right, so long story short, no, I don't have any other gear bits. So if I can't interface with the gears that I'm given, I need to try and swap out Let me attack a different problem for a moment while I just sort of think about everything. So that's pinned in. So what I'm trying to think of is if I replace this bit, the front light assembly, how can I get it so that I've got a light? Well, and certainly that bleeds into the question of, okay, well, if I replace this bit, this is what's going to be part of the mechanism holding on the front bumper, front grille assembly. So I really can't make much progress there until I know what I'm doing in that spot. All right, let's see about cleaning off some of this. There are parts I know I won't use. So what I want to do is just put them in my bin. Those I could. These awesome parts from James aren't going to be used on this build. I don't see using these rubber band set ones or that planar gear or these bubbles or whatever the heck I was trying to do with this. That's a neat orange bit. Might come in useful. Okay, I just need to remember that that's from a captive pin. I'm going to put the fender back on. And it's like at this point, there's so much you'd have to do to disassemble. Okay, so the hood comes off as one nice piece. I have to remember later that the two pins here just go straight down in the two available pins right there. Just more bits that are out of my way. These cool parts, I'm going to put those away. And this contraption. None of this really helps me right now. I'm also going to need to figure out, like, how am I going to remotely control the driving or the steering? Because, like, sure, once I make the battery pack, make it move, then I'm going to have to worry about steering it. And then, of course, I can't just, like, put the battery pack in it, set it to go, and let it go. It's just going to go brrr, uncontrolled. That's no RC car. It's also like with the pistons exposed, it's like I love the mechanically seeing how that functions. But there's another part of me that's like, we're supposed to have explosions in that chamber, bud. There's like not heads on it. There's no exhaust system. It's always difficult trying to fit your own turbo in. I'm losing my marbles. Where did I put? Here we go. My motor kit. So I'm trying to figure out here is how is that done? And could I possibly so what I'm trying to do here is just take this apart enough. And so with the way that they pin stuff in, it's really, oh, that's going to be impossible. Just impossible. So I'm trying to figure out is the black piece that would continue from here. Of course, what I'm seeing in the camera seeing is totally different. Continuing with a piece that I'm holding that goes through there. If I could pull that out and replace it with a longer one and interface with that and drive directly the gear that drives the gear that drives the gear down the line that drives this. But with this wheel and suspension assembly in my way, I'm also wondering, can I make my life easier by taking, oh, come on. Taking the wheels off. There we go. I was like, why isn't this moving? Because the gear on the roof is jabbing the table. It's like I can get in here, but I can't really pinch it. I'm also starting to think like, well, is it going to be okay if I just pull that out? Then it sits flat. So yes, we're doing that. I'm trying to make sure that I keep things sorted for what I take off so that I can put it back on. Okay, so I've taken this piece out from where it is here. And now that can help expose that's like I really hate to try and use tools because I don't want to crush my bits. But I don't know how else to like get in there, and nope. That tool's not gonna let me get in here. That's too big. I have to think about that. I'm gonna get up and get myself a drink. There has got to be a way without completely disassembling all of this. This is just going to be such a pain to put back together. It's like, yep, I had it together. And then I just took it all the way apart and made it super difficult for myself. My cat burst into the room through a closed door like, "Hey, buddy, well, you're going to meow at me later when you realize you can't get out on your own. If I leave my door ajar, it's a one-way door." Well, he did figure his way out. It's getting too warm in here. So where we're at now, still trying to pull the, well, you can't see it from there. And it's like, this is really put together with a whole bunch of little pieces. They didn't simulate the brake system. Where's my brake calipers, buddy? Well, this is somewhat of an improvement because now that I've gotten to here, I don't have any way to mount it, but I have access now. That's what I wanted. So how can I use this connecting here and find a novel way to attach it permanently? And again, like, this is the worst place to put that. I feel like it's one of the only places I can put that. And I won't have enough ground clearance to do it from that direction. And I don't see having a rotation like that working out for me. Because I'd have to have something like that and then still rotating it. And I have no idea how to do that. Certainly, there are cleverer ways of doing what I'm attempting to accomplish. I just don't know what they are. So what remains is the question of, okay, how do we attach what we've got Okay, so that's not going to work. Do I have any of those bits that adapt from one direction to another? Well, I'm getting there. I just need something with longer than 5. And it has to be like that. Okay, so that's longer. And of course that doesn't quite do it. So put you there. Then our spacing is of course weird because we're not spaced properly. And if I do space it properly, we're probably going to end up in a spot where I need these blue pins. So really I just need to cover a gap of 3. And I will use that. Yeah. Oh, come on, piece of junk. Yeah, I feel like yeah, that's too far away. That does not work at all. So we'd have to forego having that torque effect. And I don't have any other gear that makes sense other than this gigantic gear. And that's a non-starter. We're not going to have this. Well, no, that would increase what we're seeing. Because for one revolution of that, that's multiple revolutions of that. So that's good, I guess, right? But that puts us way too low. So that's a non-starter. That's not going to work. Okay, so we're back to trying to pull that pin. All right, I think I've done as much as I can do. I'm going to call this stream here. Maybe I'll continue off camera. Maybe I won't. I don't know. Thanks for watching.